My name is Levi Sim, and I am excited that you're here today. We've got a special treat for you. Kristina Sherk from Shark Pixel is joining us to teach us how to retouch. And retouching is one of the most powerful things we can do to ruin a photograph. And it's also one of the best things we can do to finish our photographs and give them real polish. And Kristina is a master at it. She's got classes all over the place teaching us how to do it. And she's been doing it for long. Well, and Chrissy's got a degree in Photoshop. She is a bona fide master at doing this stuff. I'm glad you're here to join us, Christy. And let me highlight you on the video for a second here. Yeah, anything I've missed here to introduce you?
I don't
Master
think
photographer, so. Master retoucher.
You were extremely, very nice about that, Angel, I will say. I do joke with people saying that I have a degree in Photoshop, but it's technically a degree in digital art. But I did spend most of my time in Photoshop learning it for 4 years nonstop. And so that's why I joke with people and say that that I speak Photoshop. And I love translating it for everybody else that's trying to get good images. And so along the way, I've seen the gamut of good retouching and bad retouching and everything in between. And so so a couple of, I want to say like maybe 2 years ago, some of the guys at Perfectly Clear reached out and said, you know, you as a professional retoucher, we'd like to know like what you think. And at that point, I took a spin around it, and there were some things that I was really impressed with, and there were some things that needed some work. And so I was blatantly honest with them to the point where I thought they needed to focus some of their coding and stuff. Yeah. And I've been really thrilled at the outcomes of the updates that I've experienced over the last couple of versions. So I'm really excited to talk with you today. I personally do a bunch of portrait photography, and I do a lot of headshots. And I actually just came out with a class on headshot photography. So, and I do mention Perfectly Clear in one of those lessons because it's a part of our portrait workflow in a way. So I'm going to explain that a little bit more as I move on. But when I am doing portraits and doing photography, when I'm not doing the retouching section of my business, I am using Perfectly Clear on my images in some aspects. So we can get started, and we can go through Perfectly Clear and see some of the updates that I'm really loving, and then we can go from there. What I really want to get to at the end of this is showing you the power behind how Perfectly Clear automates its portrait retouching, which is super important. And it's something that cannot be done in any other program because of the intelligence in the back end of Perfectly Clear. So some of the facial recognition software that they're using in order to find specific features on the face and then make specific adjustments to the specific areas of the face is something that's really powerful and great. And lastly, the reason why I think this software works so seamlessly on a lot of your images without a lot of work from you is because of the sheer volume of how many images get processed through this software on a daily basis. If you guys don't know a lot about Perfectly, where is the shark hat? I know, I'm missing my shark. Anyway, if you guys don't know a lot about the background of how Athentech imaging got started, It's it's software that do you think the past 10 years, Levi?
No, it's pushing 20. Yeah, it's over 15 years. Yeah.
So for the past at least 15 years, if you ever were printing images at a FedEx or a Walgreens or CVS or Moto Photo, if you remember the days when there were actually photo shops, and you clicked on the button that said auto enhance or Snapfish. I think Snapfish licensed their software as well. So back in the day, before any professional photographer knew about Perfectly Clear, they were licensing to these photo printers. So you would upload your photos like to Snapfish or something like that. And then if you checked that auto enhance button, it was going to apply Athentech's technology for fixing photos to each one of your images. And so while no actual photographers or photo enthusiasts knew about the software, it was still being applied to millions of photos. I can't remember what the numbers are of how many photos actually get processed through.
It's like 20 million a day.
What?
It's like 20 million a day.
20 million a day.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
It is. It's incredible. Their sample set is enormous. And so they've really practiced.
Yes, they have really practiced. Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to get at, is that you're really not going to have a lot of problems with any clunkiness of the software because of how many times it's been used and applied over the last 15 years. Now, we're just finding out about it as professional photographers because they're starting to roll out their software. They're repackaging their already amazing software to now be able to go to the photographer themselves to give the photographer more experience, more creativity in terms of tweaking this slider or that slider. And so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well,
that was very long-winded, wasn't it?
That's perfect. That's that's just what we need. And I'm the same way. I shoot a lot, and I didn't know about Perfectly Clear for many years, but for the last, this is 2018, I think 4 years I've been using it, and I've probably gained 4 years of my life back because I've been using it. Like, you're going to show us the batch processing and the speed, and well, we should just get into it, huh?
I know.
The way that it works. So, and if you could, along the way, Christy, maybe show us some principles, like generally these are the things, like, so even if I don't buy Perfectly Clear today, these are the things, my goals for retouching, what you think we should be doing to retouch. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like the principles of retouching, so that no matter what I'm using, I could get it done. But I will tell you that whatever else you're using isn't as good as Perfectly Clear. And we'll leave it at that. We don't have to sales pitch it, because as you see it, you will love it. So do you want to share your screen with us, Christy? And
yeah, I will.
Are you ready for that? It is not for, and while Christy launches her screen, it is not, this isn't an Adobe product, and it's not just for Adobe. It does work as a plugin to Lightroom and a plugin to Photoshop. So you can be in Lightroom and launch Perfectly Clear, or you can just open your picture directly in Perfectly Clear, even your raw photos.
Yeah.
And sorry, Leonard, we'll get to the how-to stuff here. We just get excited. About it.
I know. Yeah, so I'll get started. So as I said, as I mentioned, I am a portrait photographer, right? And so what happens is I get lots and lots and lots of images of faces, and I need to retouch them. And so, when I'm doing headshots, when I'm not doing the high-end retouching kind of thing that I'm doing with Shark Pixel. I'm, spending my free time doing headshots and portrait photography. And so what I really, really like about this software is the ability that it has with being able to retouch multiple different images, multiple different faces, multiple different ethnicities and ages, all using the same kind of thing. So we have an image here, but as you can see, I have a lot of images in this folder, which is going to be my quote unquote to-do folder. So if I've got 52 images to retouch, let's do some quick math, and I spend 20 minutes retouching each one of those, just as a general kind of, as an average of how long somebody would take to retouch.
Right.
So that's about 17 hours worth of retouch that I would need to do. And that's not going to be really feasible for me at this moment, just with a new baby and everything like that. So before we get into the perfectly clear, I do want to talk a little bit about, let's just do a little bit of blemish removal in Lightroom. So I'm currently in Lightroom, and what I'm going to do is just get rid of a few of these blemishes before we take this image into perfectly clear. I like the blemish removal tool in Lightroom more than the one in perfectly clear. So I will be an honest participant today.
Excellent. Yeah.
So hopefully you guys don't bash me too much.
Real quick, Christy, too. Rob was just wondering, this does also work from Capture One. I had mentioned it works from Photoshop and Lightroom, but it is also a plugin for Capture One. And the user interface that we'll see when Christy launches Perfectly Clear is the same as the standalone. It's the same as the plugin. So there's no changes when you see it on Christy's screen today.
Yeah. So, but I will be accessing it from Lightroom, personally. So at this point, I'm in my develop module in Lightroom here, and I'm using my my spot removal tool to just get rid of just a few of these blemishes before I move in. This is simply my workflow. So I'll get rid of a few blemishes here and there in Lightroom before I take the image into perfectly clear. And as you can see, each time you click on a blemish, Lightroom is going to actually guess at where you'd like to pull that information from. And if you look over here on the tool, you have the option to heal and to clone. So if you wanted to do one or the other, you could. So if you clone that circle, it's going to take the texture and the brightness darkness value, so the texture and the tone from where you sample, and put it to where you want to fix. But if you use the heal option, it's actually going to take the texture and tone from where you sample, but it's going to match the tone where you're placing it. So that's going to be
important. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's a powerful definition.
Yeah, well, it makes the most sense if I do one of these. So if I do this, and let's put it here. Actually, let's do this. So I'm trying, so that's heal. So it took the texture of the eye, but it's trying to match the color of the background. And then if I switch it over to clone, it's just taking the exact pixels from here and placing them here. So the same texture and the same brightness, darkness, and tone is going to be copied over there, But if you choose the heal option, it's going to try and mesh it in with the surrounding pixel color.
Cool. Okay.
So anyway, so that's a little tidbit for you.
What kinds of blemishes do you remove, Christy? Like what kind of things do you do here in Lightroom with the removal tool?
Like hairs, stray hairs, and then just blemishes that are really jumping out at me, basically.
Do you have any advice for moles or other marks?
You would keep any mole. You would keep moles, you would keep freckles, because those are identity markers for the person.
Right.
And the objective for getting rid of blemishes is ideally to, let me see if I can say this right. It's basically to clean up the canvas surrounding the features, so that we focus much more on the features than anything else.
And especially on something that's a temporary blemish anyway, right? Like if you've got a pimple on your cheek and that's not going to be there next week when I meet you, I don't need it to be there in a photograph forever.
Right. So yeah, exactly. So it's something that's temporary. So at this point, I've gotten rid of a few of the blemishes. So I'll go ahead and take this image into Perfectly Clear. And so the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to just right click on my image.
Before you do, could you show, someone's asking, could you remove that loop of hair on her forehead?
Yeah.
Would that be too much trouble? They want to see how the person who eats and sleeps Photoshop does it. And to do that, all you do is click and drag to get a line instead of a dot, right?
Yes, yeah. So I'm clicking and dragging along that hair so that I can remove it from there. And then, you can do the same thing. If you're not thrilled with the first area that Lightroom has picked for this, you can actually you can tap the / on your keyboard, and Lightroom is going to give you other options.
Oh, I forgot that.
For where it pulls that information from.
Instead of having to move it manually. Oh,
or you could move it. You can totally move it manually too if you'd rather do that. It's just another option.
That's a great idea. Okay.
So we've done some really simple cleanup. And so I'll just hit my before / and you can see the work that I've done. So you can see that I have gotten rid of some of the flyaways, and I've gotten rid of some of the blemishes right there. And so now what we can do is we can go ahead and edit this in Perfectly Clear. So if everybody's cool with taking this into Perfectly Clear as well.
Yeah, I think we're ready to.
Okay.
Yeah. And someone was saying, do you use any Lightroom custom brushes for removing under eye shadows or teeth whitening before Perfectly Clear? No way.
What I love about Perfectly Clear is what they're able to do with under eyes.
Yeah.
And so Perfectly Clear is leaps and bounds ahead of what you can do for under eyes in Lightroom proper.
Yeah.
So for me,
absolutely,
that would be it. That would be a no.
And Angela says, OMG, that tip was worth watching the whole webinar. So
oh, good.
It changed lives with your on the Lightroom brush, which isn't even the subject of the webinar. So
yeah, but I want to make sure that even the people that don't have Perfectly Clear, I want to make sure that they are also getting something from this as well. So So let's go ahead and choose edit in and then perfectly clear version 3. And I'm going to edit a copy with my Lightroom adjustments. And so that's going to bring me up into my perfectly clear screen. And so if you look over here, you've got your image, and then over here on the left, you have presets. So you can see there are some perfect eyes presets, perfect skin presets, all of those kinds of things. And most of these are going to come by default when you purchase Perfectly Clear. And so I will, if you look at the Perfectly Clear Essentials, what they have is they have a couple that are going to work on any image, if it has a face in it or if it doesn't have a face in it. And so, so what we can do is we can click through these. And if you look over here in this little section over here for face selection, you can see that it is registering that there is a face in your image. So
that's amazing.
Is the first thing. So remember, I have not done anything at this point yet. So I have not clicked on eyes. I have not told Perfectly Clear if there are eyes in the image or anything. Basically, this is default right out of the bat, opening the image. And so these first 4 presets in your Perfectly Clear Essentials, the Intelligent Auto, the Vivid, the Beautify, and the Beautify Plus, all 4 of those, if they register a face in the image, they're going to be registering and applying facial presets to the face that's already in the image automatically. So, so that is pretty darn cool. And again, I have not done a thing, but let's go ahead and zoom in. I'll hit my Z key to bring our image into 100% zoom. And then I'm just going to go back and forth off of what by default this software has done. So it's sharpened the eyes. Let's see, what else has it done? It's enhanced the eyes by sharpening them. It has gotten rid of dark circles immediately. I mean, and yet again, I'm just going to reiterate that I haven't done anything yet, right? Yeah. Like, so this is the real beauty of this software. So it went in and it added a little bit of skin smoothing, subtle skin smoothing to the face. You can see that. It did brighten the skin a little bit, which I'm not too happy with. I really like her original skin tone better than the brightened one. So obviously there are tweaks that we can make, and that's I think usually that's from the infrared removal, which is basically taking redness out of the skin. Because now the reason this is in there, it's not like, oh, why is that in there in the first place? The reason why this is in there is that camera sensors nowadays are so incredibly sensitive to light that they actually pick up some of the infrared light wavelengths. Yeah. And so if you've ever seen, like, if you've ever taken a photo of somebody at a wedding who's had a couple drinks or anything, they are going to look more red in their skin tone than somebody else. So basically that's why this this infrared slider is in there. But I'm going to turn it off because I think it kind of makes her skin a little bit too yellow for my preference. The other thing that you can do if you're looking at the images and you're trying to preview the before and the after, you can either click on your mouse or you can click the space bar. That's going to also show you a quick preview before and after. But what we can go ahead and do is we can, while this preset is awesome, right? There's also Beautify and Beautify Plus, which is going to incorporate in a little bit of that facial contouring. And the reason why they have the facial contouring as an option is that sometimes people photograph faces with a lens that could have the potential to distort some of your facial features. So the wider the lens that you photograph a face with, the more distortion you're going to get. And so that's why this face contouring slider is in there. It's not made to skinny people's faces or anything like that. Now, if you have a client that explicitly asks for that, then by all means turn it on. But usually I'm not doing any kind of morphing of facial features if I'm not if I'm not asked specifically to do so.
It can be a little over the top when you get into that button.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I usually keep that off. But basically, if one of these doesn't work for you, one of these 4 default presets, I want to call them default presets, you can make your own preset. And so that's what we're going to do now. And then at the end of this, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Lightroom, and then we're going to apply the preset that we create to all of the photos that I had originally that were going to take me, how many hours did I say it was going to take me to retouch those? 17?
Yeah.
17 hours. So, all right, so let's get started. Do I have any questions?
Yes. From Jeff, he asked about high frequency. Oh, does Perfectly Clear attack high frequency and other frequency lines, wrinkles versus character lines? And I think yes, between the perfectly smooth and the blemish removal, it's affecting different amounts of detail. Is that a right way to say it?
Yeah. The frequency separation method.
I'm not sure. I think he's talking about, he says high frequency and frequency lines. So wrinkles versus character lines. I think he's not frequency separation as you use as a technique. But
so yeah,
the little crinkles and
the skin tweaking, the skin sliders are kind of, I think, what he's focusing on. And you can see that it's definitely has the opportunity to smooth the skin. I personally keep blemish removal off at this point. And that's because the software is still learning the difference between the edges of the face and a blemish. So for me, I like to remove blemishes in Lightroom, and then I come in here for the skin smoothing. And so I hope that answers his question.
Yeah, well, I'll get a follow-up question if it didn't.
Okay, so you can see how nice and natural this perfectly smooth slider is for the skin smoothing. Now you also have options to smooth only the face or the full body, anywhere where they see skin tone. Then the other thing is the smoothing type. You can either do subtle, default, or super smooth. So I actually think default is more subtle than subtle. Because if I take it up to 100% and I zoom in on the skin, here's subtle and here's default. So I think default looks better than subtle for the for just the different types of skin smoothing that they offer. Now, never, ever keep it at 100%. The reason why I put it at 100% is to show you guys the difference. And then if I go to super smooth, it's like, where did her features go? Okay. I get that. But what I'm trying to show you currently is the difference between the smoothing types. Now I'll pull this way back down to about, 30%, and I'm seeing a nice evened out skin tone while still protecting that texture underneath. So that's one of the things that I really, really like. I have a little bit of teeth whitening here. Now, if you take this again all the way up, it's going to look like the teeth are glowing in the dark. So, remember that if you're ever thinking about, is that too high or not? If you're ever kind of going back and forth between, what should I do here? Is this too much? Just back it off a little bit. Just don't take the time to hem and haw over, is this too much or is this not enough? Instead, if you're thinking that, just pull it down 30% from wherever it is, and then just call it a day. But don't spend that time obsessing over the different, whether it's too high or too low. So that's one of the overarching retouching techniques that I just want to touch on for this webinar. So, so I hope that helps. The dark circles is by far my favorite slider within Perfectly Clear. I'm just going to pull it all the way up to show you guys so that you guys can see the difference. Now, you guys can see all of these minute lines underneath the eye that everybody has, right? But what Perfectly Clear has done is it has somehow brightened those specific areas while still having all of the detail in the skin texture. Now, I don't know how they do this, and I've actually asked their developers, please tell me, how do you do this?
That's the $1 million question, or $30 million question.
This is probably my favorite slider in the entire. And this and eye enhance. This is going to be sharpening the specific areas of the eye that you want to sharpen to just really make those eyes pop.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to touch on before we go and save our preset is that you have the option to show the face parameters within here. So your face selection is going to come up, and if there's more than one face in an image, you will have the different faces come up in the image like this, and then each one of those is going to be modifiable. But if for some reason the software kind of misregisters something as an eye or something like that, you can say it thinks that this is the eye over here for some reason. You see how all the tweaks and changes moved?
Yeah.
As I moved that over there, you can see some of the under eye brightening area is being applied to the hair over here. That's because I moved this yellow access point away from the eye. So if I put it back on there, you can see that everything kind of lines up over the face. And so in my experience, the best place to put these two yellow dots is going to be where, why is it zooming in like that? It must be my mouse. It's going to be where the eye itself meets the top lid. For some reason, that seems to be the best location for those dots. And then you can always turn those dots off, show and adjust control points by turning that on and off right there.
Right.
So if I go ahead and do the before and the after, you can see that we're doing some massive changes to the image without any freehand masking, without any detail work from me. I didn't do any of that. Perfectly Clear found all of the features, and Perfectly Clear applied the specific sliders to the specific features. And that's why I love this software. So one thing that I do not want to modify is the overall tone.
Sorry, before you leave the eyes, would you keep dark circles at 100%? Asks Steve.
Oh, no. Good. Thank you for catching that.
Yeah, it's totally adjustable. I mean, you don't want to go too crazy with it because those lines can be an identifying feature of people's faces as well. But it certainly
Right.
mitigates their impact in the photograph.
Yeah. But in my experience, whenever we're creating a preset to apply to multiple different images, you always want to scroll everything down. You want to back it off just a little bit. You don't want to go too far. Just because we're going to end up applying it to multiple different images in a batch process.
Yeah.
So, alrighty.
And two more quick questions. Regarding details right there, it says noise has been detected. And so folks are wondering if noise is a problem, and do you use Lightroom to do it, or do you use Perfectly Clear to take care of it?
I think that you're going to find that noise is going to be detected on all images.
Yeah, just about all images. Yeah.
And
I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't worry about it. Do you worry about it?
No, unless I visibly see it and it's distracting my eye from an image, then I wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And for me personally, when I'm behind the camera, I'm in control. It's not as if I'm an event photographer or a wedding photographer. If you are an event or wedding photographer, you should absolutely have Perfectly Clear as well because of everything that it can do to those images as well, which is a perfect example for the noise detection and whether or not you have it on. When I'm shooting headshots, I'm in control of the lighting of the situation. I'm in control of everything like that. So at no point in my portrait sessions am I struggling with low light, in which case I would have to bump up my ISO high enough where I would see it. So for today's examples, for the portrait session examples, I'm not going to really be needing to turn on my noise reduction.
Yeah. That's what I find as well. Is it's just not usually the case. And we'll have more webinars coming up where we will use noise reduction on things like landscapes and cityscapes and stuff. But
exactly.
But not usually a problem today.
Yeah.
And then the other question for you was that I was trying to find it. Oh, here it is. It's Wayne. Wayne has trouble with shine and reflections with certain makeups and skin types. Shine removal in Perfectly Clear helps, but what do you do for shiny skin? Including at the time of shooting.
Yeah, so if I see it specifically in camera, I'm going to try and get rid of it in camera. I carry a camera ready kit, which has oil blotting papers and also matting powder, which is clear.
So you can use it on men and women without affecting their skin tone.
Correct. But if you are not at the luxury of having a complete portrait session set up, you can turn on the shine removal slider within the skin section of Perfectly Clear. And that is going to allow you to get rid of those shiny areas on the skin tone. Now, I really want to preface that this is a slippery slope, getting rid of shine like this, because as you can see for her, she doesn't have very much shine. But as you get rid of the shine, what you're actually doing is darkening the highlight points of the face, and you're thus making it look less three-dimensional, which is the opposite of what you want to do when you're dealing with skin like that. So if you do have shine, it's better, and this is an overall retouching mantra, not specific to Perfectly Clear. If you do have shine, the best thing to do is to diminish it but to leave it at some degree, because otherwise your face looks completely flat, and that's a telltale sign of over retouching. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling. So you can turn it on a little bit. We'll turn it on a little bit for our preset that we're making, because we may end up with some images that have a little bit more shine. So then I'm going to basically, I'm going to save this as a preset. So I have all of my settings here. And so what I'm going to do is save this as one of my presets. And
it's under the gear wheel now, I think.
For here. Okay.
Yes. There you go.
So I'm going to add or edit a preset with the settings that I have added over on the side, on the right side. So add it or edit a preset. I'm going to call this headshot. What should I call it? Headshot.
Demo. It doesn't. Yeah. You can name it anything you like, Kristy. You can even use any icon you like.
Yeah, I know, all the icons are so funny.
I know, like the thermometer icon. I don't know. Maybe I use that one when I'm freezing cold.
Right. Or the diamond icon. Like what? Or the lightning bolt. Or the floppy disks. Or the film. It's so funny. I don't know who chose those, but man, they're hysterical. Yeah. So now you're going to select the group in which you want to save these presets in. And so I'll just save them into my preset, and I'll go ahead and press save. And so what that's going to do is, if I come down and I open up the disclosure arrow next to my presets, now we have a headshot demo preset that has been created there. All right, so I'll scroll back up to the top, and I'm going to minimize my perfectly clear essentials thumbnails. And so now I just have my presets that are open. So let's go ahead and save this image, and that's going to save it and open it back up into my Lightroom.
And it automatically imports. You don't have to re-import or synchronize anything.
Yeah, that's what's super, super nice. So we do have the before and the after. You can see that if I zoom in, you can see the difference. So you are seeing the blemish removal that I originally did, but you're also seeing the tweaks that for the perfectly.
Yeah. It may not be coming through very clearly on the webcast, but there's a marked difference in the texture of her skin, and the little things that Kristy was adjusting are significantly better.
Yeah. So that's the before. And then the after. You see the sharpening in the eyes and the under eyes? Can they see the difference?
Yes, definitely in those things. Yep.
Okay. So let's now look at everything else that we have to retouch and actually put this to work. And this is the really exciting thing. So I'm going to select all of these images, Command or Control plus A. I don't want to select the image that we use this on. So I'm going to hold down Command or Control, and I'm going to click off of that image, because that's the one that's already been applied. But all these other images need to be retouched. Retouched still. So with all of these images selected, I'm going to hit my export button. And here's the exciting part. Instead of exporting to hard drive, if I do, I'm trying to scroll in, like zoom in so that you can see
Oh,
better.
yeah. It may not work during the webinar. Sometimes
Okay.
it get disabled. Yeah.
So instead of exporting to hard drive, or email, which you guys are probably familiar with, I'm going to choose export to perfectly clear version 3.
Bam,
And
you got a new tab.
then what's going to come up is I have all these different options of what they want it to do. So I'm going to choose my user presets, and I'm going to tell Lightroom to utilize Perfectly Clear's plugin in order to apply my headshot demo preset to each one of these 52 images that I have selected. I'll just wait for the brains to blow.
Yeah. Wait a minute, Chris, you can't do that. You just did a preset for people with dark skin, and it was a woman, and it was a vertical image, and all of these pictures you selected are not those things. And their faces aren't in the same position in the frame. And all these other objections, because in Lightroom, if I want to copy settings, copy a preset and apply it to another picture, it just does it like statically. It takes exactly those settings and puts them in exactly the same place on the new picture. But
you are the perfect person to have in my demo today. The reason why I don't like the word preset for Perfectly Clear is because it is a smart preset that applies facial recognition technology to the preset sliders. So that's the crazy thing about Perfectly Clear, and that's why it's so valuable for me. Is because I don't have to tell. It's not a dumb preset. It's not you added 10% clarity to this image, so I'm going to add 10% clarity to the next image. It's like relative. It's like a smart preset. And so it will take the preset that I created, and it will actually tweak it to each one of these different faces and different people and different images that I have. And it will apply all of those beautify settings to each one of these images. So let's actually just see how it ends up working out here.
Yeah, and it's going to find everybody's eyes, and it's going to apply those settings in the right place in the picture, regardless of their position in the frame or anything like that. It's really incredible.
Right. Exactly. I couldn't have put it better myself. It's exactly, that's exactly why it's so powerful.
And so, real quick, Christy, your demonstration catalog that you're showing us here, your pictures are JPEGs, but you're typically shooting in RAW files.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does work on RAWs as well.
Yeah, it does. And yes, we can run it from Bridge if they were adjusted in Adobe Camera Raw and not Lightroom. Yes, it works on JPEGs or RAWs the same way, and you can output a JPEG, a TIFF, or a PSD file. And
I don't know if the automation is the same in Bridge, though.
It's a little different. You have to go to the Automate tab. Everything else, like it won't be this window, but yeah, the same settings, like your same preset will still be applied. How does it tell between male and female faces? I don't know. They ground up.
We don't know that. But somehow it does it.
Yeah, there's unicorn dust sprinkled in this software. And
it's mermaid dust, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, it's mermaid dust, and it does less retouching on the men than it does on the women. So it's incredible.
It is. So I'm going to go ahead and export and say to the same folder as the original, but then I'm going to put it in a folder that's called Perfectly Clear Edits. And then I'm not going to do anything to the file naming. I'm going to keep the image format at 100%. My resolution should be 300 or 240, depending on your native file. And then I'm not going to have any output sharpening on because I'm going to rely on Perfectly Clear for that. And then there is an option to hide the perfectly clear window.
Yeah.
You can choose whether or not you want to keep that open or not. I hide it because there's no,
you have to press OK on each individual picture.
yeah.
So yeah, you want to hide that if you want it totally automated.
Okay. Good to know. And then, but I do want to add the images to this catalog. So let's go ahead and hit export. And that's it. I mean, that's literally all the work that you have to do. Perfectly Clear is doing the rest.
Yeah, and we didn't even show, like, you can also open, you could open 52 pictures at once in Perfectly Clear yourself, and make changes to the first one, and then there's a thumbnail strip at the bottom, and you can choose another picture and just apply the same settings from the previous one, and then
that would, yeah, I feel like you would use that more if you were looking to apply tweaks.
Exactly. Yeah, if
like,
you wanted to really fine touch every picture.
Yeah, exactly. More fine-tuned tweaks.
But this works great. Like Matthew Jordan Smith, he takes an entire shoot, and they need proofs like in an hour, and so he runs it on the whole shoot and sends it to him as a what this could be kind of thing, as a general proof, and then he goes back and touches up more closely the specific images they want.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's an incredible beauty photographer. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's terrific.
So if you look up here in my Lightroom window, you can see the processing and how fast it's moving. So that is going to be the real power behind this. And then basically, so I'm just letting it do its thing, right? I'm chatting, I'm taking the dog on a walk, I'm doing all these things that I had forgotten about, like saying hi to my husband for the first time all day or something like that, you know? But the real power of this is that it's saving me 17 hours of retouching.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. It's ludicrously fast, as I'm writing to Rob right now.
Yeah, it's super fast. And, you know, I mean, what we can do is we can start going through and reviewing the changes, I think. I may have to wait for it to update, but.
If you go to, okay, if you're in the library module, it's faster to see it, for sure.
So before I zoom out, so that's the first image. I don't know why I can't go forward in my films. For some reason, my left and right arrow keys aren't working. Oh man, seriously? That's how I get through this stuff. Hold on.
Oh, no.
Why is it G for grid? Take me back to library.
Yeah, Lightroom is killing me sometimes. Let's see. While you do that, Chris, yes, it works with multiple faces in a photo, and it finds their faces, it finds their eyes, and it's incredible. And yes, you can bulk process group photos. Sometimes, like if a person is turned a little too much, it won't recognize their face.
Yeah.
But you can force it to recognize their face by manually adding faces. If you want to do more touch up on the mother-in-law's face than you need to do on the bride, you can open these as layers in Photoshop and run it on one layer for the mother and one layer for the bride, and then just paint it back in if you need to do, like, for some reason, one person wants a lot more slimming or smoothing on the face, you can do that by using layers. And so yes, the group faces, yes, the groups, it's great for landscapes. I mean, it does things with color that no other software does. And also this automation that we're seeing right now, to my knowledge, it's not available from other retouching software. You have to go in and manually put that little loop over their eyeballs and over their mouth and over their face. And I thought that was really cool when I used those tools. until I started using this tool, and I didn't have to manually do any of that stuff.
Right.
You can adjust the eyes on the occasions when it needs a little tweaking, but I think 75% of the time I don't need to make any manual adjustments to the position of the eyes.
Yep. I agree. So at this point, I'll just go over and review some of the changes that were created. This is because 6 of my images were in my Lightroom catalog, but they weren't actually on my hard drive. Right. So that's why I had errors on 6 of them. So the nice thing about Perfectly Clear is it's going to tell you which ones it had errors on, which is very kind. But we have our 29 finals, and we have our 29 Perfectly Clear edits within this folder. I had multiple folders selected before, so there's some in a couple of these different folders. But let's just go through the ones that we got already. So before, after, before, after, before, after. So young female, older male, okay? Older male again. Eyes in completely different areas. Again, what I love about this software is the fact that all of the under eye texture is still there, but the circles are on.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And I didn't even see the Perfectly Clear window through this.
Right. You could be doing other stuff in Lightroom.
I automated this all.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done 700 pictures in a batch is the most.
Oh, I believe it.
It takes more time, but it's fast. Yes, it works on different ethnicities. Even in the same photo, people of different ethnic, like a group picture with different skin tones and face styles, it works.
Yep.
Let's see. We'll do landscape and product stuff in future webinars. Today we're doing headshots.
Yeah.
Does PCC use a mask, and can you edit the mask? No, you'll want to go back and watch the beginning where Christy was adjusting the placement of the eyes a little bit, but that's it. You don't have to.
If you wanted to, if you say something that happened in Perfectly Clear was too extreme for you as you were doing this, and you wanted to just mask it back in, mask out some of the correction. If it was overcorrected, you can, in your Lightroom catalog, you can shift select both the original and the Perfectly Clear edit, and you can right click and choose edit in, and then you can come over here to open as layers in Photoshop, and then from Photoshop you can mask out specific areas of the Perfectly Clear retouched photo, and darken specific areas of that. So yeah. I hope that answers that. And again, older female, not going as far with the under eyes. This guy's one of my favorite examples because he's I love this client. He's fantastic. I love working with him. I worked on him on multiple occasions, but this one time I worked with him, I was like, did you pull an all-nighter last night? What happened? And so again, Perfectly Clear is just going straight in there. It's protecting all of the detail underneath the eyes, but it's getting rid of those under eye circles.
Yeah. Oh man, it's great.
So again, different ethnicities, right? You're still getting that same effect.
And what was that other question here? Let's see. There's not a setting for white balance in this one, Leonard, but there is a color cast correction that might help with what you're talking about. But if you do a white balance adjustment first, that's advisable. And then for portions of a face, Barry, you'll just have to give it a try. Sometimes the skin tone and color corrections, they apply intelligently, and it's not to the entire thing all the time. But we need to see an example. But the great thing is there's a free 30-day trial when you can go and give this a shot on your pictures. It's a full featured trial. There's no, it's not throttled back in any way. And you can all go and try Perfectly Clear Complete for 30 days and see how it works for you. Also, there's also a 30-day return period. So what I'd recommend is that you use the bundle, the special price we're going to send you in the bundle, where you get Christy's presets included with Perfectly Clear. And then if you don't like it, you've got 30 days to return it. But you get the bundle price with a 30-day trial time instead of using it for 30 days. And then, of course, I know you're going to love it, but you won't get the extra presets at the end of those 30 days. So that's what I recommend.
And the discount, right?
And you don't get that great bundle price. People were asking about presets, Christy. We're just about. I want to be respectful of your time, but you have presets. Can you tell us what they do, do you have any new ones in there?
I think I have presets through the App Store.
Right. And that's the Perfectly Clear Complete App Store, the App Manager, which you'll download when you download the app.
Is that what people are talking about? Like the Perfectly Clear preset?
Your presets and things. And
so I create presets for Perfectly Clear, and then I give them to the company and they put them on the App Store. I think that's the only place that we currently have presets.
Right.
I have some presets for eyes I have an eyes mini pack for Perfectly Clear Complete version 3. And that is actually free if you go to the apps manager. So if I edit a photo in Perfectly Clear, and I go over here to the apps manager, you can download these for free. So I think it's 5 presets for free. And then I also have another preset pack for portraits in here as well.
Excellent. And we've got a special bundle price for you. You can go see the price right now if you'd like to, but the purchase button isn't working properly. So we're going to send you an email with the link to purchase it as soon as that's ready. But you can see that bundle right here in the chat. I've dropped a link to it. And again, we will email you that link. It works in Photoshop, anything from what did it used to be called before it was called CC?
6?
Yeah, but it's not Photoshop 6.
CS 6.
It's CS, right? Yeah, so CS3 and newer, Lightroom 3 and newer. And if you don't have one of those or newer, you are missing out, man. Forget about Perfectly Clear. There's some other stuff you need to get first. Actually, get Perfectly Clear first, and you'd probably keep using what you've got, but get Perfectly Clear because it also works as a standalone. So if you're using a really old software, you can still use Perfectly Clear. Yes, if you already have Perfectly Clear Complete, you can see the preset pack. I was wrong earlier. There is a special price for just the presets, and you can see it at the same link above. What doesn't this do? What does Christy hate about it?
Complete honesty.
Complete honesty.
The blemish removal slider is not my favorite. As I started out, they are working on it though, which is really exciting. So it will be improving.
Yeah.
And so that's really exciting, as well as some other really amazing things that I'm not really allowed to talk about, but that they are working on. So there's a lot of exciting stuff down the pike for Perfectly Clear. And so I highly recommend getting it and using it now for the things that it's amazing at now, because I know that it's going to be amazing at some of those next things with the next version that comes out and things like that. So there's your little bit of honesty. The company knows.
Right. Yeah, they know.
And it's a super easy fix to do. If there's a glaring blemish, to just fix it in Lightroom and then take it in.
Right. Like it doesn't attack the big blemishes, because those could be moles, and it doesn't do that. And I appreciate that about it myself. Melissa says you have the most beautiful lashes.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice.
Angela, yes, I use it for babies. It does a great job on baby acne. Leonard really appreciates the webinar. So
cool.
Thank you, Christy. And where can we see your new class? Where can we see your other stuff?
I have a lot of classes at Photoshop World, which is a Kelby One conference. They're having 2 this year, one East and one West, where I do actually teach a class on Perfectly Clear. And then also a lot of the Perfectly Clear, a lot of Kelby One classes are on their platform as well. So kelby1.com.
Yeah, excellent. And are you coming to PPE next week?
I will not be at PPE.
Okay.
I know, sad.
No problem.
Yeah.
I'm glad you took some time to join us. Sorry, Leonard asked, what happens if there's a new version in the next 12 months? Updates are free. Updates to the current version are always free. Sometimes upgrades are potentially free as well, but they may have a fee. If you already have Perfectly Clear, then there's a discounted upgrade fee. Typically, there has been in the past. I don't work for Perfectly. You don't work for Perfectly Clear.
No.
We don't work for Perfectly Clear. We just like it, and we think you'll like it too. So forgive me if I give you the wrong answer, or if I don't know the ins and outs of the software. I'm a photographer, man. I just want my pictures to look pretty.
Yeah.
And yes, this is definitely better than winning the Mega Millions this week, because it's a surefire thing. So put your money on this instead of the lottery. Yes, Ellen, there would possibly, there historically has been a discount for people who already own it to upgrade. Yes. Contact customer service about that. And Christy, can we follow you anywhere else? Can we see updates?
Absolutely. I have a Instagram account where I show kind of before and afters, and I show some retouching tips and tricks and stuff like that. And that is at @shark_pixels. So definitely go follow me on Instagram, and you'll get to see some really fun stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And my name's Levi Sim. You can find me on Photo Focus, where I teach several times a week with free articles. I'm also on Instagram at PhotoLevi. And thanks again to Perfectly Clear Complete for letting us do this for you. Now, Perfectly Clear's parent company is called Athentech. So if you see an email from Athentech, it's about Perfectly Clear. And we will be sending you the link to this video, as well as the link to the discounts very soon. So thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Thank you, guys. This was awesome. Super fun.